In the bright galaxy of Zyphora, far from Earth, there was a planet called Ardelia. It was a world of shining towers, floating gardens, and rivers that glowed at night. The Ardelian people were wise, skilled, and proud. Among them lived Princess Lyra, the only child of King Tauren and Queen Selene. She was known across the stars for her beauty, intelligence, and bravery, but she was also famous for something else. She had rejected every suitor who had come to ask for her hand in marriage. Many aliens from neighboring systems tried to impress her. Some brought rare crystals that shone like stars. Others showed off powerful weapons or grand machines. Some promised alliances or wealth. Yet Princess Lyra smiled politely and said, "I am honored, but no one yet understands me, my people, or my world." The royal council worried. The Ardelian Empire was powerful, but it was also surrounded by rivals. Marrying the right leader from another system could strengthen the kingdom and keep peace. King Tauren called a meeting in the Grand Hall, a place with high ceilings and walls that shimmered like liquid light. "My daughter is wise beyond her years," the king said, his voice echoing in the hall. "But the future of Ardelia depends on forming alliances. We must find a way to show her suitors who is truly worthy." The council members murmured. Many had their own ideas. Some wanted to force the princess, others wanted to make her choose from a list of noble candidates. Lyra's mother, Queen Selene, looked concerned. She loved her daughter but also understood the importance of her decision. Finally, King Tauren spoke with certainty. "We will not force Lyra. Instead, we will create trials. Each candidate must prove their intelligence, courage, and compassion. Only the one who succeeds in all trials will earn the princess's respect." The council agreed. Messages were sent to nearby systems, inviting eligible suitors to participate. Soon spaceships of all shapes and sizes arrived on Ardelia, each carrying hopeful candidates. Among them was someone very different, a human named Eli. He came from a planet called Earth, which was small and not yet known to most of the galaxy. Eli was not a noble, a warrior, or a wealthy explorer. He was an engineer and a traveler, curious about the universe and eager to share knowledge. His ship was simple, modest, and filled with tools rather than treasures. When Eli learned about the challenge, he did not seek fame or reward. He wanted to help the Ardelian people, learn about their technology, and see the wonders of a world unlike his own. Some of the other suitors laughed at him. "A human?" they sneered. "What can he offer to a princess of Ardelia?" But Eli did not answer with words. He only smiled and focused on the task ahead. The first trial was announced. In the Royal Plaza, a vast open space with floating platforms and waterfalls that sparkled in the twin suns. The trial was called the Wisdom of the Stars. Each candidate would enter a holographic simulation of the Ardelian star system and solve a series of celestial puzzles. It was not only a test of knowledge, but also of creativity, patience, and insight. As the candidates prepared, Lyra watched from a high balcony. She had seen many suitors fail, and most approached the challenge with pride and arrogance. They wanted to show off, not to learn. Lyra wondered if anyone could truly impress her. The trial began. One by one, the candidates stepped into the simulation. The stars and planets glowed around them, moving in complex patterns. Alien suitors quickly tried to force the puzzles into shapes they already knew. Many grew frustrated and angry when the solution did not appear. Some even argued with each other, blaming mistakes on competitors. Eli entered last. He looked around, curious and thoughtful. The patterns were different from anything he had seen on Earth, but he stayed calm. Instead of trying to dominate the puzzle, he studied it carefully. He noticed how the planets moved, how light bent around stars, and how the smaller moons influenced the larger ones. Slowly, he began to understand the logic of the system. Unlike the others, Eli asked for guidance from the holographic interface rather than ignoring it. He listened to subtle hints and adjusted his approach. When a small alien contestant got stuck, Eli helped them see a solution. He did not see the other candidates as rivals. He saw a chance to solve a problem together. Hours passed. Many candidates failed and left the simulation, exhausted or frustrated. Eli kept working, his hands moving carefully across the controls, his mind focused on understanding rather than winning. At last, the final puzzle appeared, a complex arrangement of stars, planets, and gravitational fields. Most candidates gave up, claiming it was impossible. Eli, however, paused and thought deeply. He imagined the system as a living organism, each planet moving in harmony. Slowly, he adjusted the elements, letting patterns emerge naturally. To the amazement of the spectators, the simulation completed perfectly. The stars aligned, planets glided into place, and the system glowed with a golden light. Lyra's eyes widened. She had not expected a human to succeed, and yet here he was, calmly completing the task while others failed. There was something different about him. He did not rush, he did not boast, he did not try to impress her. He simply solved the problem. The Royal Council was impressed too. "Remarkable," said one elder. "He has intelligence, creativity, and patience, and he helped others along the way. This is more than any trial can demand." Lyra descended from her balcony to meet the candidates. She approached Eli, who stepped back slightly in respect. "You solved the trial differently from the others," she said, her voice calm but curious. "You did not try to dominate. You observed, you listened, and you helped." "Why?" Eli smiled softly. "Because a problem is easier to solve when you understand it fully. And when others struggle, helping them benefits everyone. That is how progress works. No one succeeds alone." Lyra studied him carefully. His answer was simple, yet it carried depth. It was unlike anything she had heard from other suitors. She felt a flicker of something she had not felt before: respect, and perhaps the beginning of curiosity. King Torin nodded. "Indeed. The first trial is complete, and this human has shown qualities that are rare among all candidates. Let the second trial be prepared." As the crowd dispersed, whispers spread about the unusual human who had impressed the princess. Some aliens were skeptical, but many were intrigued. Eli, meanwhile, did not seek attention. He walked quietly through the plaza, observing the city, the floating gardens, and the glowing rivers. He marveled at the technology and the harmony between nature and science on Ardelia. That night, Princess Lyra stood on her balcony, looking at the twin suns setting behind the mountains. She thought about the first trial and about Eli. She had never met anyone quite like him. There was something honest and brave in his eyes, something that made her heart beat faster than she expected. Yet she reminded herself that this was only the beginning. There were 2 more trials, each more challenging than the last. And while Eli had impressed her, she did not yet know if he could succeed where others might fail. But deep inside, Lyra felt a strange hope. Perhaps this human, unlike any suitor before, might teach her something new, not only about the galaxy but about herself. And so, under the glowing Ardelian sky, the first chapter of an extraordinary journey began. The princess who had rejected every suitor was about to discover that true courage, wisdom, and kindness could come from the most unexpected place, a human from a distant planet. The morning sun rose over Ardelia, casting soft golden light over the floating towers and glimmering rivers. Princess Lyra stood on the balcony of her chamber, thinking about the first trial. Eli, the human, had impressed her with his intelligence and kindness. He had not only solved the complex puzzle of the stars but had helped others along the way. She had never met anyone like him, and though she did not yet understand why, she felt a strange curiosity and admiration for the human. The Royal Council gathered in the Grand Hall to announce the second trial. This challenge would test courage, not the kind that relied on weapons or strength, but the kind that required patience, wisdom, and bravery in the face of the unknown. The second trial, King Torin announced, is called the Nebula Caverns. Deep within these caverns are the ancient guardians of Ardelia. Only those who can navigate the labyrinth, face their fears, and show understanding and respect for the guardian's wisdom will succeed. All others will fail. The candidates looked uneasy. Some of them had expected only puzzles and tests of knowledge. The idea of entering unknown caves filled with strange creatures was frightening. Murmurs spread among the nobles. "This is impossible. The caverns are dangerous." Eli, however, felt calm. He had traveled through difficult terrains on Earth, explored mountains, caves, and storms. He knew that courage was not about fearlessness, but about understanding and patience. The candidates gathered at the entrance of the Nebula Caverns, a dark and twisting maze that glowed faintly with bioluminescent crystals. The air shimmered with energy, and faint whispers seemed to echo from the walls. Even the bravest aliens hesitated at the threshold. Lyra watched silently from a platform above, her arms crossed. She noticed the fear in many candidates' eyes and the confidence in others. But she was most interested in Eli. He looked small among the tall alien nobles, yet he stepped forward without hesitation, carrying only a small toolkit and his calm determination. As the trial began, the caverns tested the candidates in strange ways. At first there were illusions, walls that seemed to move, shadows that appeared to attack, whispers that tried to confuse the mind. Many candidates panicked. Some ran back, claiming the trial was too dangerous. Others tried to fight the illusions, wasting energy and becoming lost deeper in the maze. Eli walked carefully, listening and observing. He noticed patterns in the illusions. The shadows moved in response to fear, and the whispers changed when he spoke calmly. Instead of rushing or fighting, he paused, breathed deeply, and focused. When a shadow approached, he made no sudden moves. When a whisper tried to scare him, he spoke politely to it, asking for guidance rather than confrontation. Slowly, the illusions passed him safely. Deeper inside the caverns, the candidates encountered the Guardians. They were enormous beings of light and energy, their forms constantly shifting. The Guardians' eyes glowed with intelligence, and they spoke in a voice that seemed to echo in the mind rather than the ears. "Why have you come here?" the Guardians asked. "What do you seek?" Most candidates shouted bravely, trying to impress the Guardians. Some threatened them, believing that strength would win the trial. The Guardians were not impressed. They responded with illusions of danger that made these suitors retreat. Eli stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "I come to learn," he said simply. "I want to understand your purpose and help if I can. I do not seek to dominate or control. I only wish to walk carefully and do what is right." The Guardians paused. Their energy shifted, brightening like a sun rising. They tested Eli further, sending illusions of fear and uncertainty, walls that seemed to close in, creatures that appeared to block the path, and whispers that questioned his courage. Eli felt fear, but he did not act recklessly. He studied each challenge carefully, finding the smallest clues that led him safely past obstacles. He listened to the Guardians, observing their patterns and respecting their presence. Where other candidates had tried to fight or escape, Eli adapted and moved with awareness. At one point he reached a chasm filled with glowing mist. Across the gap was the final chamber, where the most important relic of the Guardians rested. The mist appeared to move and shift, creating the illusion of monsters within. Many candidates would have panicked, but Eli approached slowly. He noticed that the shapes in the mist were reflections of light from crystals on the cavern walls. Using his knowledge of light and angles, he carefully arranged small mirrors from his toolkit, revealing the safe path across. The Guardians observed silently. Eli stepped forward, crossing the chasm with patience and precision. He reached the chamber, where a glowing crystal pulsed gently. This crystal, known as the heart of Ardelia, symbolized wisdom, courage, and understanding. Eli touched it lightly, and the chamber filled with a warm, golden light. The Guardians' voices echoed in unison. "You have shown courage that respects life and wisdom that honors knowledge. You may proceed." Back outside the caverns, the remaining candidates emerged one by one. Most were exhausted, shaken, or defeated. Eli stepped out calmly, his clothes dusty, but his spirit undimmed. The air outside felt warm and welcoming, and the twin suns of Ardelia reflected in his eyes. Lyra watched from above, her heart racing. She had seen many candidates fail, and yet Eli had passed without arrogance or violence. He had faced illusions of fear and respected the Guardians, solving challenges that others could not even understand. When he noticed Lyra, Eli bowed slightly. "Princess Lyra," he said politely, "I have completed the trial as best I could. I hope I have honored your people and the Guardians." Lyra descended the steps to meet him. "You did more than complete the trial," she said softly. "You understood it. Most candidates tried to force their way through, but you listened, observed, and acted with respect. I have not seen this before." Eli smiled. "I only did what I thought was right. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to act even when afraid, to respect what you do not fully understand, and to help others along the way." Lyra's eyes softened. His words were simple, but they carried a truth she had rarely encountered. Other suitors had come seeking her favor or her kingdom. Eli had come seeking understanding, and in that, he had already set himself apart. The royal council gathered around, whispering among themselves. King Torin nodded. "This human has shown courage beyond measure. His respect for life, wisdom, and the Guardians is unlike anything I have seen among our usual candidates. Let the final trial be prepared." Eli did not seek praise. He quietly observed the glowing cavern walls, still marveling at the harmony between Ardelian technology and nature. He felt a quiet sense of accomplishment, not from winning, but from learning and understanding. As the sun set, Princess Lyra stood beside him on the balcony of the Grand Hall. "You are unlike any suitor I have ever met," she said. "You do not seek power or wealth or glory. You seek understanding, and that is rare." Eli looked at her, humbled. "I am grateful for the chance to learn from your people, and from you, Princess Lyra. The galaxy is vast, and we humans have much to discover. I hope we can do it together in some way." Lyra felt a warmth in her chest. She did not yet know the full extent of her feelings, but she knew one thing. This human had touched her in a way that no other alien had. He was brave, yes, but in a quiet, thoughtful way. He was strong, but not boastful. And he had compassion, even in a trial designed to test fear. That night, as Ardelia's twin moons rose over the shining rivers, Lyra could not sleep. She thought about the trials, about the Guardians, and about the human who had passed both challenges with grace and intelligence. A strange hope stirred within her. Perhaps the future of her people and her heart was not in the hands of the arrogant suitors from distant worlds, but in the careful, brave hands of a human who had only just arrived. The second trial had ended, but the journey was far from over. The final test awaited, a trial that would challenge the heart, not just the mind or courage. And both Princess Lyra and Eli felt, deep inside, that nothing about this journey would be ordinary. And so, under the glowing stars of Ardelia, a bond began to form. One born not of expectation, wealth, or power, but of respect, courage, and the quiet strength of a human who dared to face the unknown. The morning light on Ardelia shimmered across the city's golden towers and crystal rivers. After Eli had successfully completed the trials of wisdom and courage, the excitement across the kingdom was growing. Every alien candidate whispered about the human who had quietly impressed Princess Lyra. Some were jealous, some curious, but all agreed that Eli was different. Princess Lyra herself could not stop thinking about him. He was unlike anyone she had ever met, calm, intelligent, brave, and most importantly, kind. Yet she reminded herself that the trials were far from over. The third trial would be the most unexpected and revealing. A test of compassion. "King," Torin addressed the candidates from the Grand Hall, "the final trial is the trial of compassion beyond worlds. You will visit a struggling Ardelian settlement in the mountains. Their energy core is failing, and without it, their homes, farms, and schools will be in danger. You must work together with the people, solve their problems, and show true care for their well-being. Only one candidate will demonstrate the wisdom, courage, and compassion needed to earn the princess's respect. The candidates prepared their equipment. Many were confident, believing they could repair the core using advanced alien technology. They saw it as a competition to show skill and power. Eli, as always, approached the challenge differently. He did not rush. Instead, he listened as the settlement leaders explained their difficulties, observing the people and their culture. The settlement, called Lumora, was built on steep mountainsides, with terraces for gardens and homes crafted from shining crystal-like stones. The people welcomed the candidates nervously. Their energy core was a large glowing device that provided heat, light, and water to the settlement. But it had begun failing, flickering and humming unevenly. Previous attempts by Ardelian engineers had not worked, and the settlement was losing hope. Most candidates immediately began fiddling with controls, pressing buttons, adjusting wires, or using machines to force the core to function. Some argued loudly, blaming each other for mistakes. Their arrogance and impatience frustrated the villagers, who were not used to outsiders treating their homes carelessly. Eli, however, took a different approach. He first walked among the people, asking questions about how they used the core, how it had failed in the past, and what they needed most. He listened to the children who played near the fading lights, the farmers whose crops depended on the energy, and the elders who remembered the original design. The core is not just a machine, Eli said quietly to himself. It's the heart of this settlement. Instead of imposing his own methods, he combined his human engineering knowledge with the people's understanding of their own systems. He explained his ideas simply and asked for their input. The villagers began to trust him. Together, they discovered small problems: a misaligned conduit, a worn energy crystal, and a sensor that needed careful recalibration. Eli showed patience, working methodically and teaching the villagers to do the same. As hours passed, the other candidates grew frustrated. Their machines overheated, wires sparked, and their attempts to fix the core failed repeatedly. Many of them abandoned the settlement, claiming it was too complicated or beneath them. Eli, however, remained calm, moving carefully and showing respect for the people and their home. The settlement began to change under his guidance. Children watched in fascination as Eli explained how the core worked. Farmers helped him adjust the energy flow to their terraces. Elders offered advice from decades of experience. Even small animals like the glowing mountain birds seemed to observe him calmly. Finally, Eli reached the final step. The energy core needed a delicate balance between Ardelian technology and human problem-solving. With the villagers' help, he carefully aligned the conduits, replaced the worn crystal, and recalibrated the sensors. When he activated the core, it hummed steadily and glowed brightly. Heat spread to homes, water flowed through the terraces, and the lights shimmered across the settlement. The villagers cheered, hugging each other and Eli. Some shed tears of relief. "You have saved us," one elder said. "We were losing hope, but you brought it back, not just with skill but with care." Eli smiled, shaking his head. "I did not do it alone. You taught me how your settlement works. Together we fixed it. That is how real progress happens, by listening, learning, and working together." Word of Eli's success spread quickly throughout Ardelia. Princess Lyra arrived at Lumora, walking quietly among the villagers. She observed Eli speaking to a small child about the energy flow, his hands gentle and patient. He did not boast, did not demand recognition, yet he had achieved what no other candidate could. Lyra approached him. "You have not only fixed the core," she said softly. "You have gained the trust and admiration of these people. Most suitors would have ignored them, but you listened, cared, and worked with them." Eli looked at her, bowing slightly. "I only did what felt right. The settlement is their home, their lives, and their hope. I could not ignore that. True help comes from understanding, not from forcing solutions." Lyra's heart stirred. She realized that the qualities she had always admired, intelligence, courage, and patience, were all present in him. But now, compassion shone through. It was rare, even among Ardelian nobles, and even rarer in someone from another world. The other candidates returned to the city, defeated and silent. Their pride had been shattered by the human who had quietly worked with the people rather than above them. Many whispered among themselves, calling him extraordinary. But Eli paid little attention to their words. He focused on the villagers, ensuring that the core functioned safely and that everyone understood how to maintain it. At sunset, Princess Lyra and Eli walked through the settlement together. The glowing rivers reflected the twin moons above, and the villagers waved from their terraces. Lyra watched Eli interact with them, his calm and gentle demeanor evident in every action. She realized that this human had a rare gift. He inspired trust and hope wherever he went. "You are different from anyone I have ever met," Lyra said quietly. "Other suitors came seeking titles, power, or alliances. You came to understand, to help, and to connect. That is something new, something I have never seen." Eli smiled humbly. "I did not come for anything but the chance to learn, and to help if I could. The universe is vast, Princess, and there is so much we can share and understand together." Lyra felt a warmth she could not explain. For the first time, she wondered if perhaps her heart might choose not for duty or expectation, but for the qualities she truly admired: courage, wisdom, patience, and now, compassion. The people of Lumora cheered as they watched Princess Lyra speak with Eli. For the first time in the kingdom's history, a human had won the respect of both the princess and the Ardelian people. King Toran observed from afar, a quiet smile on his face. He had hoped that the trials would reveal true character, and Eli had exceeded all expectations. Perhaps, he thought, this human is more than a visitor. Perhaps he is the beginning of something extraordinary for Ardelia. That night, under the glowing moons, Lyra returned to her tower, her mind full of thoughts about Eli. She could not deny that he had impressed her, not just with his skills but with his heart. She wondered what the final trial would reveal, not only about him but about herself. Eli, meanwhile, looked at the stars above Lumora. He had completed all 3 trials in his own way, quietly and with respect. He felt a sense of fulfillment, not from winning, but from helping, learning, and connecting. Yet he also knew that the journey was not over. There was one final trial remaining, the trial that would test the heart, not only the mind or courage, and deep inside, both Princess Lyra and Eli felt a growing connection, one built on respect, admiration, and the rare understanding that crossed worlds. The galaxy was vast, but for the first time, they sensed that perhaps 2 beings from different planets could share not only challenges, but a vision for something greater. The stars of Ardelia sparkled above, a silent promise that the final chapter of the trials and of their extraordinary story was yet to come. The city of Ardelia buzzed with quiet anticipation. The first 3 trials had been extraordinary. Eli, the human, had impressed the princess and the Ardelian people alike. His intelligence, courage, and compassion had set him apart from every alien candidate. Yet there was still one trial remaining before Princess Lyra would make her final choice. King Toran gathered the candidates in the Grand Hall, a place where the walls shimmered like liquid light and the floors reflected the twin suns above. "The final trial," the king announced, "is the test of strategy. This trial will challenge not only your mind but your ability to adapt, to lead, and to foresee the consequences of your actions. You will be placed in a simulated scenario where you must make decisions that affect entire communities. Only the one who demonstrates wisdom, insight, and foresight will succeed." The other candidates exchanged nervous glances. Many were confident, having relied on technology, strength, or political connections in previous trials. They assumed the final challenge would be no different. Eli, as always, approached the task with calm curiosity. The candidates were guided to the simulation chamber, a vast dome filled with holographic landscapes and floating controls. The chamber recreated a series of Ardelian settlements, each facing unique challenges: failing energy grids, disrupted trade routes, environmental hazards, and internal disputes among residents. The candidate's task was to solve these problems using limited resources and careful planning. Every decision had consequences, and the simulation would react dynamically. As the trial began, many alien candidates rushed to impose their solutions. They tried to force results relying on advanced technology or brute tactics. Some ignored the residents' concerns while others focused on impressing the observers rather than solving the problem. Mistakes quickly multiplied, and the simulation began to spiral into chaos. Fires flared, water supplies dwindled, and villagers panicked. Eli took a deep breath. He observed the situation carefully, listening to the holographic residents and noting the limitations of his resources. He realized that quick, forceful actions could cause more harm than good. Instead, he approached each problem with patience and thought. He began by addressing the most immediate danger: a failing energy grid in a mountain settlement. Eli assessed the system, noting the fragile balance between energy sources and the villagers' daily needs. Unlike the others, he asked the holographic residents about their priorities. The simulation responded dynamically, showing him the effects of each choice. By listening carefully and making small, precise adjustments, Eli restored the grid's stability. Next, he addressed the trade route disruptions. Merchants were trapped by landslides in the simulation, threatening food and supplies for several settlements. While others tried to force drones to clear the path recklessly, Eli studied the terrain and devised a careful plan. He coordinated a combination of drones and temporary bridges, ensuring safety while maintaining efficiency. Supplies began moving, again, and the holographic villagers cheered. Throughout the trial, Eli remained calm and adaptable. When unexpected events occurred, storms in one settlement or a sudden energy surge in another, he did not panic. He assessed the situation, consulted with the virtual residents, and found solutions that balanced safety, efficiency, and fairness. Princess Lyra observed silently from a control platform above. She was fascinated by Eli's approach. While other candidates focused on personal glory or quick results, Eli focused on understanding the situation and the needs of the people. He combined human ingenuity with the knowledge he had gained from Ardelia's culture. Hours passed and the simulation reached its final scenario. A large flood threatened multiple settlements simultaneously. Many candidates panicked, trying to address the crisis in a single location, ignoring other areas. The simulation responded accordingly, showing destruction in overlooked settlements. Eli, however, thought strategically. He divided resources, prioritized the areas most at risk, and coordinated temporary shelters while reinforcing barriers in the flood's path. He worked systematically, predicting how the water would flow and adjusting his plans in real time. Slowly, the simulation stabilized. The villages survived with minimal damage, and the residents expressed relief and gratitude. The other candidates had failed or retreated, exhausted and frustrated. Their overconfidence and lack of patience had caused them to mismanage the challenges. Eli, on the other hand, had succeeded through careful observation, planning, and adaptability. At the conclusion of the trial, the chamber doors opened. Eli stepped out calmly, his clothes slightly dusty from the simulated terrain, his expression thoughtful but satisfied. Princess Lyra descended to meet him. "You have done it again," she said softly, her voice carrying awe and warmth. "You have not only solved the problems but also understood the people. You acted with intelligence, strategy, and respect. Most candidates thought only of results. You thought of consequences, of lives, and of harmony. That is rare." Eli bowed slightly. "I only did what I thought was right. A leader is not just someone who gives orders or solves problems quickly. A leader must understand the people, the resources, and the long-term effects of every choice." Lyra nodded, feeling admiration and something deeper stirring in her heart. She had met many alien leaders, many suitors with titles and power, but none had ever demonstrated the combination of wisdom, courage, compassion, and strategic thinking that Eli had shown. The royal council gathered, whispering among themselves. "He has exceeded all expectations," one elder said. Not only does he have intelligence and courage, but he also understands the balance between people and their environment. He is truly remarkable. King Torin smiled quietly. Indeed, this human has proven himself worthy of the princess's respect. Tomorrow, the final decision will be made. Let all candidates prepare to present themselves to the princess for her choice. That evening, Princess Lyra walked through the gardens thinking about Eli. She remembered the first trial, where he solved the puzzle of the stars with patience and creativity. She recalled the Nebula Caverns, where he faced illusions and guardians, with quiet bravery. She thought of the Lumora settlement, where he had shown compassion beyond worlds. And now, she remembered the strategic trial, where he had balanced intellect, patience, and empathy. No other suitor had ever impressed her in this way. The more she thought about him, the more she realized that Eli was different. Not because he was human, but because he acted with integrity, humility, and care. He had faced challenges not for personal gain, but to understand, help, and protect. Eli, meanwhile, prepared quietly for the final day. He did not boast or seek attention. He walked through Ardelia's city streets, observing its people and technology, learning and thinking about how to continue helping if given the chance. He understood that the final decision would not be a simple reward. It would require trust and connection with Princess Lyra and her people. The night sky of Ardelia was alive with stars, reflecting in the glowing rivers below. Lyra stood on her balcony, looking at the twin moons. She felt a sense of anticipation and something else, an unfamiliar flutter in her heart. Eli had shown her qualities she admired more than power, wealth, or titles. She realized that her respect for him had grown into something deeper, something personal. As the city slept, both Princess Lyra and Eli thought about the journey so far. The trials had tested intellect, courage, compassion, and strategy. Each challenge had revealed not just skill, but character. And as the stars twinkled above, both of them felt that the final trial, the choice of the heart, was approaching. The next day, all remaining candidates would gather in the grand hall. Princess Lyra would make her decision, and for the first time, the human who had come from a distant world might change not only the outcome of the trials, but the future of the Ardelian Empire. Eli looked at the stars above, thinking about the journey and the princess. He felt calm and ready. He did not seek power or glory. He only wanted to act rightly, help where he could, and be true to himself. The galaxy was vast and the possibilities were endless, but for now his focus was clear. The princess, her people, and the final choice that could shape everything. Princess Lyra, meanwhile, watched the horizon. She knew that tomorrow she would make a decision that could alter her life forever. And in her heart she felt a quiet certainty that the human before her was unlike any other suitor she had ever met. A human who had shown intelligence, courage, compassion, and wisdom beyond expectation. The final chapter of the trials was about to begin. The morning sun rose slowly over Ardelia, casting a golden glow on the crystal towers, floating gardens and rivers that glimmered like liquid light. The city was alive with excitement and curiosity. Today was the day the trials would end, and Princess Lyra would make her choice. The candidates assembled in the grand hall. Most were nervous, but none more so than the alien nobles who had hoped to impress the princess with wealth, titles, or power. Among them stood Eli, the human, calm and composed, carrying only the quiet confidence that had carried him through every trial. The hall shimmered with light as Princess Lyra entered, her presence commanding respect, yet radiating warmth. She walked slowly along the central platform, observing each candidate. For years she had been offered suitors from across the galaxy, brave warriors, wealthy nobles, and powerful leaders. All had failed to earn her respect or touch her heart. But now she faced a decision unlike any other. "Candidates," she said, her voice echoing in the hall. "You have completed the trials of wisdom, courage, compassion, and strategy. You have shown skill, determination, and character in ways we could not have imagined. And yet the final decision is not about trials alone. It is about understanding, connection, and what you hold in your heart. The alien candidates shifted uneasily. Many had expected a final challenge, another test to prove strength or intellect. Instead, the princess spoke of something deeper, an understanding beyond the trials. Lyra paused, her eyes falling on Eli. The human had stood quietly through every trial, never seeking glory, always helping, always observing, always acting with integrity. She remembered the first trial, where he had solved the puzzle of the stars. She remembered the nebula caverns, where he had faced illusions and guardians. Without fear or arrogance, she remembered Lumora, where he had helped the settlement with care and patience. And she remembered the strategic simulation, where he had balanced lives, resources, and consequences with wisdom and foresight. You, she said, turning to Eli, have shown qualities I have never seen in any other suitor. You act with courage but not recklessness. You act with wisdom but not pride. You act with kindness, yet you maintain strength. And most importantly, you act with respect for life, knowledge, and the people around you. Eli bowed respectfully. Princess Lyra, I am honored. I did not come for recognition or reward. I only wished to understand your people and offer help, where I could. The trials have been challenging, but they have taught me as much as they have tested me. Lyra smiled softly. That is what makes you different. Most suitors seek power, status, or fame. You seek understanding, connection, and to do what is right. That is a quality rare among any species, and one I admire deeply. The alien candidates watched silently, their confidence fading. Some looked disappointed, realizing that the trials had been about more than skill or technology. The princess's choice would reflect character, not status. Lyra turned to address the hall. I have seen the strength of character in this human, Eli. He has earned respect not through titles, wealth, or power, but through understanding, courage, compassion, and wisdom. Today, I make a choice, not because it is expected, but because it is right, for my people, for my heart, and for the future of Ardelia. A hush fell over the hall. All eyes turned to Eli. He looked at the princess, surprised yet calm. He had never imagined being chosen as a suitor for a princess of Ardelia, and yet he had never sought the position. His journey had always been about learning, helping, and connecting. Princess Lyra continued, her voice clear and certain. I choose Eli, not for what he can give me in power or influence, but for who he is. He embodies the qualities I value most: courage, intelligence, compassion, and integrity. He has shown that two beings from different worlds can learn from one another, respect one another, and create something greater together. Gasps and murmurs filled the hall. Many of the alien nobles were stunned, unable to comprehend why the princess had chosen a human over so many powerful suitors. Yet the people of Ardelia, the villagers, engineers, and citizens who had witnessed Eli's actions, smiled and nodded. They had seen his character firsthand and understood the wisdom of Lyra's choice. Eli stepped forward and bowed deeply to Princess Lyra. Princess, I am grateful for your trust and honor. I do not take this lightly. I will strive to understand your people, support your leadership, and learn from your wisdom. Together, I hope we can achieve great things for Ardelia and beyond. Lyra extended her hand. Eli, your humility and dedication are what make you worthy. This partnership is not about tradition or expectation. It is about respect, understanding, and the future we can build together. He took her hand gently, feeling a sense of connection that transcended worlds, cultures, and species. In that moment, the trials, the challenges, and the journey all culminated in something profound. The union of two beings who had learned to see beyond differences and value the essence of character. The royal council watched with quiet approval. King Toran nodded to himself. The trials have revealed the truth, he said. Character, integrity, and compassion are stronger than wealth, titles, or power. This choice honors Ardelia, and I am proud of my daughter for her wisdom." The people of Ardelia cheered as the news spread throughout the city. Aliens who had doubted the human candidate now looked with admiration and respect. The settlements that Eli had helped celebrated, recognizing that their new ally had not only solved challenges, but had inspired hope and unity across the planet. Princess Lyra and Eli walked through the city together that evening. They visited Lumora, where the villagers greeted Eli warmly. Children ran to shake his hand, elders offered blessings, and the people expressed gratitude for his guidance and care. Lyra watched quietly, her heart full of admiration and affection. She realized that this human had not only earned her respect but had awakened feelings she had never expected. As the twin moons of Ardelia rose above the shimmering rivers, Lyra turned to Eli. "You have changed everything," she said softly. "Not just for me, but for my people, for the kingdom, and for the possibilities of what we can achieve together." Eli smiled, humbled yet confident. "I did not do this alone. Your people, your guidance, and the lessons I have learned here have shaped everything. I am grateful to be part of this world, Princess Lyra, and I hope to continue learning and helping as we move forward together." The bond between Lyra and Eli grew stronger with every word, every shared thought, and every moment spent together. They had faced trials, challenges, and doubts. They had learned from one another, respected one another, and inspired hope across Ardelia. And now, at the culmination of the trials, they stood ready to shape a future not dictated by tradition, but by choice, understanding, and mutual respect. That night, a grand celebration was held in the Grand Hall. Citizens from all over Ardelia gathered to witness the union of Princess Lyra and Eli. The air was filled with music, laughter, and joy. Holographic displays shimmered across the hall, showing scenes of the trials and the efforts Eli had made to help the people. Speeches were given, songs were sung, and everyone celebrated the courage, wisdom, and compassion that had brought this moment to life. Princess Lyra stood beside Eli, feeling a sense of fulfillment and happiness she had never known. She realized that the trials had been more than tests. They had been a journey of discovery, not only about the candidates but about herself, her people, and the possibilities of connection between worlds. Eli, standing beside her, felt the same sense of wonder and responsibility. He knew that being chosen was not the end but the beginning of a journey to learn, to help, and to build bridges between worlds. He felt proud not for himself, but for what they could achieve together. The stars above Ardelia twinkled, as if in approval, reflecting in the glowing rivers below. Princess Lyra and Eli looked out over the city, hand in hand, ready to face the future together. Their story had begun with trials, challenges, and differences, but it would continue with unity, respect, and shared dreams. In that moment, Ardelia and the galaxy beyond witnessed something extraordinary. A human and an alien princess, brought together not by obligation or expectation, but by the strength of character, courage, compassion, and the rare understanding that transcends worlds. And so the princess who had rejected every suitor found someone who truly deserved her respect, admiration, and heart. The human who had come from a distant planet changed everything, not only for himself and the princess, but for all of Ardelia. The galaxy had seen the power of integrity, empathy, and courage, and the possibilities for the future seemed brighter than ever. The trials were over, but a new journey had begun, a journey of partnership, exploration, learning, and discovery. And together, Princess Lyra and Eli would face it with wisdom, bravery, and compassion, inspiring all who witnessed their story. The stars above shone brightly, and the rivers below reflected their light. A new chapter had begun, for the princess, for the human, and for the galaxy.